Hey everybody, I'm Julianna with Choppin It Up with Amania and Julianna, and this is Amania.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our conversation. I'm with the Conservative Poet and the City Talk podcast, and happy to be today with my girl Julianna, chopping it up, talking about everything trending, all the political stuff that's happening currently in the space. So we're gonna chop it up with our thoughts and our commentary.
There you go. So today, Amania came on and she was like, I have so much that I want to talk about. I have all these different points. And I'm like, you go, girl. And we'll just start talking about them because we want to just talk about the opinions about what's really happening and what does it
Yeah.
really mean. So, all
Yeah.
right.
All right. So
Uh-huh.
we can start with some news. We haven't come together in a couple of weeks. And
Mhm.
so in the last couple of weeks, a lot has happened, including the abolishment of the Board of Ed, the Board of Education. It has happened. Now, I know a lot of people, they are like, oh my God, no, they're going to close the Board of Ed. What about our kids? How are they going to be fed? And all of these things. Well, you know what, friends? They're going to survive. And you know what? They're going to more than survive. They're going to thrive because of the closing of this establishment. Because if we know our history, the Board of Education was only put together uh, in 1979 under Jimmy Carter. And what they wanted to do then was really, have government grow even bigger in our children's lives. And so they came up with this. And so it was really a political move, right? To really do that. And they created the Board of Ed. And statistics has shown us since the Board of Ed has been in play, our students have literally lost their way, their education, all of that. It's a bureaucracy of bigger government. So with President Trump signing this order in, what it's going to do, it's going to revert it back to the states. That way the states and the governors in each state can, really cater it to what their students need. Parents can be more involved. It'll be more of a community as opposed to it being at the federal where all that bureaucracy. So we're literally shrinking government and making it better. This way, governments and states can be more what? Accountable for their
There you go.
students and not the official national or federal government. So I think it's a great thing.
So RC and I have been working with advocates throughout the state of Florida, and we keep saying the same thing, and that is that the federal government is going to start getting smaller. If Trump does what he says he's going to do, he's going to start saying, you know what, federal stuff, you're gone. We're going to throw everything back to the states. There's a big responsibility that happens, though, when that does happen. It's because then if the states are now going to do something, right, then we, the people, need to step up and say, states, this is what we would like for you to be doing next. Right. Yeah. Just because the states are now going, okay, well, the Board of Ed is done. The states are now responsible. What do we want to have happen? Are we telling our representatives what we want to have happen? This is a moment for Watchmen Action to step up and say, hey, everybody, we need to make sure that we're pushing the agenda that we want to have, what the church wants to have, not what the globalists want to have. And if Trump is really, when he killed the Board of Ed and he's giving us the responsibility, then we need to step up. Right, Amania?
I absolutely agree. And what I also see here is that we all like sports. We're a nation that loves physical sports. So how about we put our education in as a sport where we are literally competing with other states, showcasing what's good in Florida, showcasing what's good in Massachusetts, what's good in New York, what's good in Illinois, and all of the different states. So because we know just like in all of these different cities, with like the city of Chicago, New York, all of these different Baltimore, all these different cities
Mhm.
that has failing schools, right? It is time for these people, these teachers unions, these people to really start to showcase, hey, you know, you got to get in the game, and you have
Yep.
to start to really teach your kids, because now it's all on you. It's all on you. And so I think this is a great way for competition of the states to really showcase and shine, and really make our students interested in learning again, right? And making it
Mhm.
more fun for them. This way, they can compete with other students in the union, right? I think
I
it's
want to
good.
see, sorry, I want to see what the homeschool community is going to do. Yeah, and the micro school community. I mean, this is their time to shine. It's the reason why RC and I are in conversations about bringing the lab model back, because the lab was a place where we could meet, we could do events, the homeschool community can be there, we can have teachers come in, right? We could do all the work that we could do as a community of people together. And now is it our time to be able to say, okay, so what does school look like for our children now?
Mhm.
Right? How do we democratize it and make it so that all the children can get the type of education that they need? I raised 4 kids, 3 my own, 1 I, basically adopted. They were all different. They had different blood types, they had different needs, they had different interests, right? And to shove the 4 of them into, one type of school, forget about it. There was no way. I had one that was a homeschool, I had one that was a Montessori, I had one that was traditional public school. They were just different types of children. And now it's our responsibility, and the homeschool community stepping up, and the micro schools community stepping up and going, this is what we want to have happen. And we need to educate the people, because they don't know what other opportunities are out there. They're just freaking out that the Board of Ed is closed and don't realize that there's all these other opportunities out there, and how they're going to get the help that they need to be able to make sure their kids are getting the education that they want their kids to have.
Yeah. I'm
Right?
glad you bring up that point with the micro schools and all of that. And for a short time, I was working with Florida Citizens Alliance, and the
Mm.
idea was to put micro schools in different areas. And I think you're right. This is an opportunity for organizations like them to really hone in into, okay, our state is now free from the federal government. This is
That's right.
the time for organizations such as Florida Citizens Alliance to come together and really push the micro school model. And yeah, and I think she still runs it, Christy DiVigelli. I
Yep,
think
she does.
yeah, she's
Yep.
awesome. She's a
Yep.
visionary, and she's hands-on and ready to work. So I think this model of the way this what they have, the product that they have, is a
Mhm.
great time now for them to shine
That's
and
right.
really put those ambassadors to work to really bring that program together, because this is the time, because this is a great opportunity for micro schools, for Christian schools,
Yep.
for all of them,
Yep.
and this is also the time for the public schools to say, hey, the competition out
We
here is real, and we need to really step it up,
Yep.
because we're going to lose our kids because we're not giving them quality, and they are
That's right.
getting quality in the smaller classrooms, in the micro schools, in the Christian schools, in these classical places. So yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for organizations like Florida Citizens Alliance to really
Yep.
step up and get the job done, right?
Well, the meeting RC and I had before I jumped on with you was with Brave Books, and they're looking for curriculum-based books so that they can go, okay, we're going to start teaching the young demographics, because it's time for us to be able to go, we're going to take over the education. What do we want to have? Brave Books has all these amazing books and curriculum for the children, where they even now have a TV show, a TV channel right? Where they're putting on the different types of programming that's not the new stuff, where it's all really programming them and it has all these pixels and stuff like that, that gets the kids literally addicted to the screen and what they're watching. They don't want any of that kind of programming. You know, how do we use television and video to be able to educate the children without, really programming them? You know what I'm saying? So what Brave Books is doing is just amazing. So this organizations like, Watchmen Action, we're going to do what Coach Boom said, and Schoolhouse Rock, the Watchmen Action curriculum. I'm so excited about that, because Brave Books is like, we need to have that, right? We're in talks with TPUSA, Faith, and, saying, Watchmen Action. We've got the Watchmen Action curriculum for the adults. We've got the Watchmen Action curriculum for the 7th through the 12th graders, right? Because if we want to be able to, one, educate our children, and two, be able to give them this is what you need to do going forward and launch them into the world, we need to give them the education that they need. And part of that is the civics. How do they get involved? Who are they in the society? How do they contribute to the community? Because if you don't have a purpose, what's the point of getting the education to begin with? So I'm really excited to see different programs step up, and, the Christines of the world and the homeschoolers of the world, and those of us that have these programs to say, you know what, we're going to educate our children the way we wish to see our children educated, not the way the indoctrination wants to have our children. No. We're taking our kids back.
Yeah.
Right. We can.
No, you go.
No, I was just going to say, we allowed us to just, abdicate our responsibility in our society. We abdicated our role to make sure culture is what culture needs it to be. And I think with the disassembling of the Board of Education, people are now waking up, right? You can't just lean back. I think people have just been leaning back and just allowing the government to rule their lives. Oh, the government's going to tell me what to do and what time my kids need to go to school and what needs to happen. No, we need to be telling them. Government starts with us, not with them. It starts bottom down, not down up, right? They have few and defined responsibilities of federal government. And we, the people, made the states, not the other way around.
I love it. And as you were talking, my mind was working. And so I know we're going to be having the homeschool convention. It happens in May, Memorial Day weekend. I never forget when it happens. And because I usually they're volunteering, helping out. So, but it's always a good time, seeing all of the new curriculums come out, all of the people pumped with ensuring that our children are educated, like Florida Citizens Alliance, and a whole slew of other people, and the governor makes sure he shows up. He's there every year to push this education. So that is something to look forward to, that will be coming up in our area in May. And so, friends, if you have children and you're thinking about homeschooling and you're thinking about, well, what is this all about? Well, I would advise you to find out about it. The Homeschool Convention. I don't know if that's the official title. Next time we talk, I'll get with Lori Bontel, who's a big part of that, and we can give you the exact lingo and how that works, because this was just an impromptu part of my thoughts. And so, if you are interested in that, attending is relatively inexpensive to go and to bring your child and have experiences and to see all of the new curriculum, to find out all of the different books that's happening. I mean, it's a great thing for the homeschooling community, and especially now with it being reverted back to we the people. So it's, again, we have tools in our chest, in our war chest, to really grab this thing and run with it and really start to cater and give our children a better education.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that.
So
Cool. Okay, next topic.
All right. As we just talked about, this one I'll talk a little bit about. I don't have a lot on it, but the governor had a press conference recently, and he is looking to relieve the stress of tax on property owners. And so he is looking to return, maybe in a rebate or something like that, $1,000 to homeowners, Florida citizen homeowners. And so that's going to help. And he's also looking to have an amendment put on the ballot. So because something like that would probably have to go through the legislature. So he is looking to have an amendment put on the ballot, I guess next election or this November. I'm not sure when, but that is in the what do you call it, in the cooker, getting ready to roll out sometime. So our great governor has been at work, and for those of you who is homeowners, this would be something great, especially for our seniors, because from what I understand, one of the problems that they have, even though their property have been paid off, like mortgage wise, but the fact that they still have to pay so much in taxes makes it still impossible to really stay in their home. So a lot of them downsize and leave their homes because of this great burden, not just the insurances and the taxes, but so this is going to give relief to some of our seniors and, people who's been in their property for a long time. And now that they're on a fixed income, doesn't have the ability to still maintain. So that's going to give some relief. And if he can really remove it altogether, and one of the ways he's looking to do this, he is looking to Doge Florida to find money so that our citizens can benefit. So this is one of the things I think he's putting together to, once he can, really rein into where more waste is, what's wasted at all levels, then those funds, they can give people relief. So that's something our Governor DeSantis is working on. So I thought that was worthy of at least giving you that information. Yeah.
It's really important. Like the point he kept making was, do you really own your house? If you have to continue paying those kind of taxes. And like you said, those people that are on a fixed income, and like the housing market's going up and up and up, but people can't afford to keep up with that kind of tax increase if they're on a fixed income. So yay for Governor DeSantis and what he's doing.
Yay for him. Yes.
Yep.
So that's exciting. Well, this is not him per se, but we'll talk a little bit about last cycle. So last cycle here in Florida, we had abortion on the ballot, and we also had marijuana on the ballot to legalize death of babies, to legalize the death of our brain cells. In any event, so I was actually approached twice this week when I was out in the shopping areas via people bringing me their petitions to sign so that they can put marijuana back on the ballot. So if you remember during the, that was Amendment 3 is what it was called during the election cycle. And that was actually put together by, big pharmaceuticals, big pharma, and big money. I think, what's his name? Morgan & Morgan, John Morgan. I believe it was him and his money behind it who was trying to legalize marijuana. It didn't work out, but they are back at it. They want to put it back on the ballot. And so, like I said, I was approached twice this week to sign the petition, and I refused. But when I went home to go to my mailbox, guess what they had in the mail? So they've actually mailed it out to we people in Seminole County. And so probably can't see it, but this is a copy of it. And they actually sent 2 copies to make sure if you made a mistake, I guess. And one of them, they actually have my information filled out on it, pre-filled out. All you got to do is sign it. So these people are, I don't remember getting one of these last cycle, but look at where we are. We're almost a year and a half out, they've actually mailed this out to people so that they are really hitting the ground running. And like I said, I was approached twice in 2 different areas in our community with this. And so just know that this is coming for us, and we, the other side who doesn't want this, need to we need to get on the ball and figure out, what are we going to do about this? And one thing I hate is for us to wait last minute, right? And then everybody wants to be chefs in the kitchen to come up with their great scheme. Well, their great ideas. Well, it's at our door. It's happening. It's in the mail. They're hitting people up in person. What are we going to do about it?
So a couple of things. Number one, I just want to say that Trump was definitely for it. So a lot of people heard Trump say this is a good thing. But what most people don't realize is that it's not making marijuana legal so that you can have your own plants outside. It's really a money grab. It's really, this is a new product that's coming out to market. Big money got in and said, okay, we want to control the market, right? So that's what they're doing. If this was they're across the board, it was legal, anybody can grow it, that'd be one thing. But now you're allowing it to be concentrated, all the marijuana, right, to be concentrated in a few people's hands to be able to control the distribution of it. So, I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to sign it, because that's not real sovereignty. That's not real freedom, because in reality, they shouldn't be, legalizing it. Something that grows, they should leave it alone, and people should be able to use it if they want to, if they need to, for whatever reason. We should be able to do for our bodies the way that we need to do. And most people also don't understand, right, that we have an endocannabinoidal system. That system overrides all other systems, and it makes sure that our body stays homeostasis. What does that mean? It means keeping stable, right? Keeping level. So if there's an issue with your liver, your endocannabinoidal system alerts your liver and says, liver, there's an incoming, right? So if we were using cannabis for really medicinal reasons, we really were healing people, fantastic. But when you're talking about doing an Amendment 3 and you want to push through, and now these big companies, big money is going to say how we can use this substance, I'm sorry, I have a problem with that. That's not true sovereignty. It's not. You're not allowing the little farmer to be able to grow the marijuana and do the distribution and make money from it. You're concentrating it into the hands of a few people and saying, now you guys can make money because you paid us a bunch of money to get the licenses, because now this is all about, we're laundering money. You're going to give me all this money, so I'm going to give you the ability to make all this money. You're making an industry, and you're cutting out all the mom and pops, all the smaller people. Most.
What you finish your thought? You had more?
Nope.
I want to read this. I want to read the language in a minute, but what you were just saying reminded me of Monsanto and what they did to feed, what they did to food, what they did to seeds and the pharma planting. They literally patterned things and said, you can't, we own the seed, you can't grow it. Like seeds from the earth that Father put in the earth, they've taken possession of it and say, you can't grow this, you can't do that. And that's the exact same thing that's going to happen with marijuana. It's not like you can grow it yourself. You can't. You got a nice yard back there, you want to grow your own plant, you can't do that. You're essentially selling your rights away to these companies, because that's what they're going to do. They want to take the ability to grow it and take and be in control of it. And you think, oh yeah, I'm going to be in. No. So I want to read the language here of what they says. So the ballot title is called Adult Personal Use of Marijuana. And the ballot summary says, okay, allows 21 and older to possess, purchase, or use marijuana for non-medical consumption, establishes possession limits, prohibits marketing and packaging attractive to children, prohibits smoking and vaping in public, maintains prohibition on driving under influence, applies to Florida law, does not change, applies to Florida law, does not change or immunize violations of federal law, allows medical marijuana treatment centers to acquire, cultivate, process, transport, and sell marijuana to adults, provides for creation of licenses for non-medical marijuana businesses. So that's what it says. That's the lingo and the language. Anything jump out at you, Jules?
Control and money, control and money. That's all it is. And then, like you said, they can bastardize it and they can, GMO it and they can continue to poison us. I just want our audience to know that, back in the early 1900s, hemp was everywhere. Our cattle was eating hemp. We were growing hemp. We were making clothes out of hemp. We did so much with hemp. And they took that and cannabis all away from us. They took this out of our, ecosystem for food, right? And they replace it with, things that God did not originally make. For example, cauliflower is not original. Broccoli is not original. Carrots don't look like they used to. They're a very different type of vegetable. So we're eating things that our body is like, wait a minute, I'm not really acclimated to this because Father didn't make it. So they've pulled things out of our system, things that helped us. So if our cattle, for example, was still eating hemp, right, we would get all those nutrients. We don't need to have, the THC, but we need the hemp to be able to, for our endocannabinoidal system to work the way that it needs to, right? So they're literally starving our body for that which that it needs. So now they're concentrating everything. The wealthy are the ones who are going to control it. They can GMO it and they can continue poisoning us, just like they do with all of our food. I mean, God.
No, it's literally sad the way they sell us these dreams, right? And it's literally, if you don't know, you're literally selling yourself and selling anything
Correct.
that's good for you.
Correct.
And so again, it goes to the hands of the powerful. And that's exactly what's going to happen with this marijuana. That's what happened with the food and even gambling. And when we think about it, look at gambling now. It's part of the destruction, the vices that we're literally destroying ourselves and our family. When you put that on there, they put it on the ballot once upon a time, right? To make it legal, gambling, the lottery, to make it legal. I mean, and we have people addicted to this thing. People are wasting their money on this because they're looking for a win. Again, it's the big people who actually ends up, winning. And all of these things, oh, it's good for you. We're just gonna, no longer will we criminalize it. And, you can gamble as freely as you want. You can smoke marijuana as freely as you want. You can, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's just crazy to me.
Yesterday, RC and I presented to the kids at Victory Christian Academy, Nancy Randolph's school. And we had the 7th through the 12th graders. And they were amazing. And we were talking about parallel economies and how when you have all these different parallel economies, right, you disempower the big corporations and the big money from having that kind of control. You're decentralizing all that power and all that money. Well, they were like, well, what's going to happen to them? Well, hopefully, they'll start to go away because we're now pushing back on we, the mom and pop people, right? The everyday citizens are expecting equal representation. Not that you're funneling all the monies to, one sector and we become what? The serfs? We don't have our own businesses now because you've cut us out of the market. That's literally what they're doing with this amendment. They're cutting the smaller growers out of the market.
Yeah.
That's not right.
No. and they
No.
can do whatever they want to it. They can add things to it. They can enhance
Mhm.
it. They can do it whatever. And you're just sitting here, you know, I believe that, okay, it's an herb, comes from Father. It has its place. It has,
Its place. Yep.
it has its place. And so if it's helpful to some, great. But when you're sitting there and you are literally
Making a
slowly,
market for it.
yeah, well, the folks that's addicted to it, and your brain cells is literally, you're losing brain cells. It's like you're not productive. It makes you lazy. Maybe it was meant to help in health in some way, but when you're smoking it the way you are, it makes you unproductive. You don't feel like doing anything. You sit around, you eat, you're flat, you're lazy, and you're walking around. And that's what I'm seeing. Like people, and it says here, prohibits smoking and vaping in public. How are you gonna? I don't think so. People are gonna walk around. Oh, yeah. Even now, they're walking around. Before, you didn't even see people smoking pot like that in the streets. Now you walk around, you smell it. Oh,
Everywhere.
it's everywhere. And this is going to become
Everywhere.
even more, right? It's going to be
So
even more.
when I had the lab and I had all the teenagers working with us, like I love them, but they would go and leave and they would smoke pot. And I was like, all y'all smoke? And they're like, all of us. And I'm like, why? And they were like, because that's what we're shown. It's in the TV, it's in the music and everything. To them, it's just part of life. They don't even think of it as like, oh, we need to be hiding it. It's, we just do it and it's accepted in society at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's detrimental, you know. It really does keep you in a place of lack, and you don't reach your full potential, and you just, I don't know. For me, it's just not good. And making it legal this way is just not good. And it's just going to continue to enrich the wealthy. Again, they hold the strings. We are the puppets, and and all they're doing is making money off of you, the puppet.
Do you know that in other countries, when they decriminalize drugs completely decriminalize it, do you know that crime and the usage goes down to almost nothing? Just something to think about, right?
Okay.
Why do they keep everything all criminalized instead of decriminalizing all drugs and getting people the actual help that they need instead of just throwing them in jail? They closed all the mental institutions, so now we have all the mental patients in the jails, and then we want to take all the pot smokers and throw them in there too. Let's decriminalize it and let's get people the help that they need and get them back on the right path. Okay, because people will stop, needing all of those extra curricular activities and the drugs and whatnot, because now we're really getting down to who's this person and how do we really help them?
Yeah.
Because throwing them in jail is not helping them.
Yeah.
Right.
I would add to that and just say, we have all of these vices because we are lacking something within us. Father created us to have an addiction personality. Like he wants us to be addicted to him. And so when we're not addicted to him, we find something else to become addicted to. So we're always searching because there's a hole in us. And so a lot of people, find it in sex. A lot of people find it in drugs and alcohol, in food, in, whatever means, but there's, you need something. And I understand that a lot of us, we find Father later on in life, and we've gone through the road, we've gone through it, and you try to tell the younger folks, your friend, been there, done that. It ain't gonna help you, but they got to take the road on for themselves. Again, we are lacking something inside. And so now that I know that, and I've found a place, I found Father, I found God to fill that hole in me. So now I can speak clearly on these things. But that's what it was. I had issues. I drank too much wine. I enjoyed wine. I drank too much of it. I had. And so we all have these things in us that requires God. And so just sort of bringing it all together, that's where we land and it's in the glory and his love and his arms, and all those things that we used to crave, the food, the drugs, the alcohol, all of that is replaced by his love. And living testimony right here. I'm just saying.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Amania.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah. So
he is faithful, isn't he?
Yeah. And so that's what we're missing, and that's what we need. So yeah.
That's beautiful. All right. You want to go back to politics to talk about tariffs?
Oh God, Liberation Day. So somebody texted me, like, this was what, Liberation, so that was on the 2nd, right? So that was Tuesday. So somebody texted me, Happy Liberation Day. I'm like, what?
That was Wednesday.
Was it Wednesday? Well, somebody
the 2nd,
the 2nd. Yeah, that was the day, the 2nd, not April Fools, but the day after. I think Trump really set it up that way because he didn't want it to be like April Fools. But yeah, somebody texted me Happy Liberation Day. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know what was happening, because I kind of put politics down for a little bit because I have projects that I've been working on and I can't like be watching stuff all the time. So I sort of put it down so I could focus on some business work. And so I was like, oh, I don't even know what this was. It wasn't until yesterday when I had to go on the radio. I'm like, I need to find out what this Liberation Day is all about. So we're going to have conversations so I know what we're talking about. And so I took in a couple of videos and I was just like, wow, okay, this is it. So we are literally putting America first and telling people, other countries, we're not going to take it anymore. And we're going to give you a reciprocal tax. You want to bring stuff to us to sell? We're open to do business with you, but you charge us this tax, we're going to charge you the same. It's reciprocal. And I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Isn't that beautiful? It's a beautiful day. So if we're going to be frank about the situation, so there's a war going on. People don't see it, right? The tariffs are happening because, A, we've been taken advantage of, period, right? But now we've got BRICS happening. And they're looking to have their own currency backed by gold and everything. And they're talking about dropping the dollar. We've had over 100, I believe, countries that has already dropped the dollar. So like there's this war. Trump is going, you guys need to support what it is that we're doing. We'll do the equal tariff so that, it's reciprocal the way that it needs to be. But on the back end, what's really happening is that Trump is going, the dollar will be dominant. BRICS will not happen. What you guys are doing over there will never happen. America is dominant, and that's the way it needs to maintain. So this is the fight that you're seeing back and forth. And I'm just really interested to see what's going to happen and what's going to happen with Trump, right? And what he's been doing and what he's been saying, because this is like the silent war that's happening, and we're just watching it progress. But I think that, if depending on what Trump does with, the dollar, he's talking about, I'm hoping, Bitcoin and not XRP. He's talking about digital currency, which makes me very, 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 very nervous, which is why I say hopefully it's Bitcoin because it's decentralized versus an XRP, which is centralized. And if you don't know the difference, decentralized means nobody can control it. Centralized means one person controls it. So I'm interested to see how Trump continues to play his hand and what's going on here with the tariffs and with BRICS and with the digital currency.
Okay. So just so I understand, like some of the things that they're starting to make sense to me now. So when President Trump came out and said that he wanted to like buy Greenland, and we thought, oh, he's joking. Like, yeah, that's
he's not joking.
He was not joking. And doing the strategic move of calling the canal, what is it now? The Panama Canal?
Gulf of America? Oh.
What was it? the Gulf of America, right? That's it.
Gulf of America, right?
All that was not just, oh, we're gonna just change the name. There's a reason, and so his main thing is to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. And so controlling these areas, controlling like what's happening in Greenland because they have resources, right? And controlling that area, controlling that waterway, controlling the Panama Canal, controlling these places strategically. So bringing back manufacturing to America, that's all that is a key player in all of this. And so I'm thinking, okay, this is like some really strategic things, because President Trump has said for a long time that, America needs to like do this. And so this is not anything new that he's been talking about. And so he's been saying this forever. And he actually had a clip that came out of him recently saying just that. And so I'd like for us to take a look at Nancy Pelosi, who back in the day laid out this very same plan that President Trump just laid out, getting the other side to pay their fair share and all of that. She was all for it. She was all for it. She made a beautiful speech laying it all out on the House floor. And we're going to take a look at that right now. Here's the Madame Nancy Pelosi. Put her on, Julianna.
How big a trade deficit and loss? How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996.
I can only imagine what it is right now.
It's 34 trillion now. This was 1996. We were at 34 billion, right? Right?
Holy wow. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, continue.
Okay, tell me where you want me to stop. All right, here we go. Tiananmen Square massacre. This figure has increased 1,000% from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that
so? When we look at this was 1996. Who was in office? Who was it? Was it Clinton? Was it Clinton?
I'm not good with this type of math. This is an RC question.
So we're looking at it in black and white here. Back then, the American economy, we the Americans were taking in 2%, right? Or that's what we were charging them for goods being sold to them, right?
And they were charging us 35%.
35%. How is this fair?
It's not.
How is it fair?
This is how they've been siphoning money off of us, we the people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. This is 1996 or 1995. This is what was happening. And I mean, it's crazy. Oh no, you can go back. I just wanted us to look at those. Yeah,
on exports. China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of...
Could you imagine what would happen to our economy if instead of boosting other people's products in the United States of America, if we boosted the mom and pops and all of their products instead? What would happen to our economy? Boom! Boom! So when I was talking to the kids yesterday, and I said to them, instead of going to Publix and buying your veggies, go to the farmer's market. Give your money to the local farmers, right? Instead of giving it to a big corporation. Go back to mom and pop shops. When I was living in Brooklyn, I know this is going to sound crazy, but we didn't have a grocery store. I didn't know what a grocery store was. I would walk down to the avenue with my cart behind me, and I went to the bodega, to the fish market, to the meat market, to the veggie market, to the bookstore, or wherever I needed to go, and I walked my fanny home. Okay. This whole big, conglomerate of having these grocery stores and stuff like that completely annihilated the mom and pop shops. We had a Barnes and Nobles that was getting ready to open. We had 4 different bookstores on the avenue for different reasons: college bookstore, kid bookstore, whatever. Those bookstores closed before Barnes and Nobles even opened their door, because as a mom and pop shop, they knew they could never fight Barnes and Nobles. If we went back to the mom and pop shops, our economy would go through the roof.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
Want me to continue?
Just looking at this. So 2% of our stuff goes to them, right? And 33% of their stuff was coming to our markets. This is when the tide started to change, and you were seeing all of this Chinese crap in our country and everything being made in China. This is how we got here, friends. This is how we got here. And she's going to go on and talk about the jobs. Play her.
Of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president, in his statement requesting this special waiver, said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because well, first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit.
I want to know how this woman flipped. Like, what happened from 96 to 25 that she just...
Don't know what happened to her, because she's making perfect sense there, right? And she laid it out beautifully, and it makes common sense. You're hearing it. You're hearing somebody advocating for we, the American people. That's what she was doing right there. She was advocating and saying, no, this is unfair. They're getting 10 million jobs, and we're getting 170 from this thing. It's unparalleled. It's not fair. They're flooding our markets with all of their business and their products, and we're only allowed to put 2% into theirs. It's not fair. So Nancy Pelosi, what happened? Let her play.
issue in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China, your products into China, the Chinese insist that you open a factory there. They misappropriate your technology, open factories of their own, and then say to you, now we want to see your plan for export. That's as simply as I can say it briefly. But the fact is, this isn't about products made in America. The Chinese want American products that are made in China. And the most serious of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry, where Boeing tail sections of the Boeing 737s were mostly made in Wichita, Kansas. Now they are made in Shen province, where workers make $50 a month. And they had the transfer of the technology and the transfer of the jobs has taken place. General Motors, Ford, they're all fighting to get in to build factories there so they can make parts there. They want MFN so they can get those parts back into the United States.
And now look at Detroit and look what Michigan's going through because of all this shenanigans that was happening because we wanted to line some pockets while disturbing everybody else's pocket.
Yeah.
We are exporting not low-tech jobs and textile jobs. We're exporting our technology. Now, if you take a country the size of China with the very cheap, and in some instances, slave labor, the lack of market access, the rip-off of our intellectual property, the transfer of technology, a country that is not willing to play by the rules in any respect in this trade relationship, you have a serious threat not only to our relationship, but to the industrialized world. And if there's one message that I want our colleagues to understand today and our constituents is that on this day, your member of Congress could have drawn the line to say to the President of the United States, do something about this U.S.-China trade relationship that is a job loser for the United States. And this brings us to the point that others have said, well, we can't isolate China. Do you think for 1 minute that with 10 million jobs at least and 35 billion and be over $40 billion this year in a trade surplus, all those billions of dollars in surplus, that the Chinese are going to walk away? Where are they going to take 35 to 40% of their exports? Who's going to buy them? This is what sustains the regime. The funding and the jobs. They can't have those people out of work. They have to be at work exporting to the United States.
So she said the right word. She said, what's supporting the regime? You know what? We're going to use that, Nancy. Thank you so much. Because obviously at some point after this, China came in and bought you big.
You know, she said something in that last part. She said something about slaves that they're using. And that really stood in my mind. Nancy Pelosi, were you saying that they are literally enslaving people to work? You know, this day and age, you can't say things like that. But Nancy Pelosi said it back in 1996. And it was true then, and it is true now. But the difference is, if you say it now, or she would never dare say something like that now, obviously. But to say it then was something. You saw how passionate and fired up she was. She was fighting for America. You could say that Nancy Pelosi was America first.
Then. Isn't it incredible how money just makes people turn a blind eye? And I mean, they're all bought and paid for. At the end of the day, when you start looking at, you know, even with this amendment, you got the, you know, sign this. That's all about money. It's all about control. All of it is. We should be keeping Nancy Pelosi, her feet to the fire, you know?
Yeah. She no longer cares. And, you know, this is who they are. This is what they've done. And, you know, they sold out America. And they sold her out big. And for them, you know, in my video, I made the point that this is Nancy Pelosi. This was a plan. She laid it out. And now Donald Trump is picking up what Nancy Pelosi was saying and said, I'm going to handle it, Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to do what you were saying back then. I'm the president who's going to do, you said, President, do something. Well, Donald Trump is picking it up and he's doing something. Why is it that you are not supporting him now, Nancy Pelosi, when he is picking up the baton and he is doing something? You called on the president to do something, right?
Because it goes against her paycheck. She can't do that. She's bought and paid for. That's why they always say, follow the money. The money will take you exactly where you need to see, what you need to see.
Yeah.
These people are crazy. They're so crazy. The Democrats walked out because we said that we don't want to pay for transgender fixes for jail people, for inmates.
Yeah.
Like, are you crazy? Like, you want to take my money. You're going to ask me for money. You want to tax me so that you could help somebody get a gender reassignment that's in jail?
Yeah, a prisoner who is serving time for being a menace to the society. Right? That's why you're in jail.
But what is wrong with the Democrats? The Democrats not think that we're watching them. We watch them all. How many people really, really want to spend money so that somebody in jail can get a sex reassignment? Who wants to do that? I bet you maybe 1 in 1,000 people will go like, you know what? I'm willing to flip some money into that. So, when they're so out of touch with what's happening, what we the people want, that they're going to walk out. I hope all of America is watching what the Democrats are doing right now. They're making themselves look such like fools.
Well, speaking of fools, their mouthpiece, Jasmine Crockett, has been definitely singing like a canary all over town. She is just singing, inciting violence, praising that the people who are destroying Elon Musk companies and his cars, his property. She said something on her birthday. She hopes people go out there and do these things. And Pam Bondi actually gave her a response and says, you need to reel in what you're throwing out here. You need to reel that in because it has consequences. Because what you're saying, you're literally inciting your lunatic base to go out here and destroy property. This is un-American. And if you want to do that, there's consequences. And so she comes out to say, oh, they trying to take me down because I'm a Black woman. They trying to shut me up because, my amendment rights, they racist and all this. Whenever they go back to the color, Lady Jasmine, it's not about your color. It's about your character and your morals, right? Nobody's judging you according to your color, but we are judging you based on your character and what you're presenting to the world. And what you're presenting to the world is disgust. What you're presenting to the world is disgrace. And so, yeah, you're going to be called out on it. Not because of your color, maybe because of your stupidity, but not because of your color.
Father definitely has said to me that as a watchman, our responsibility is to call balls and strikes. So if you do something that you're not supposed to be doing, we're going to call you on it. We don't care. The American people need to call truth the truth, and that's it. No more playing all these crazy games and, we're he, she, her, him. Done. One man, one woman, that's it. Let's get back to reality and stop playing in this fantasy world that they want us to live in. We're done. It's not about the color of your skin. It's about the content of your character, period. I know as a white woman, I'm sick and tired of hearing it. I know that you as a Black woman, you're sick and tired of hearing it. Don't tell me that because my color of my skin is different than yours and all of a sudden we're not women. We can't relate on the fact that first we're sisters in Christ. Let's start with that. So we could relate on that sister level, which is much more important than the color of our skin. Right. And we relate because we're women. It has nothing to do with, what we look like. It has to do with the fact that we love each other because we're both, daughters of the great king, right?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
both know that, and we're connected because of that. Like, stop disconnecting us. They want us to be competing against each other. Father didn't make us to compete. He made us to collaborate. He made us to work together.
Yes.
They don't want us working together. They want us to go, oh, you're darker than me, therefore we can't be friends. No, no.
Yeah, you're right. I like that.
Yep.
We weren't made to fight amongst each other. We were made to come together and produce good works for the kingdom. And so, because God puts something in you that he didn't put in me. And so the idea is for the two of us to come together, just like we're doing here on Chopping It Up and presenting to the public your thoughts, my thoughts. We may not agree on everything, but you have something and I have something, and we're presenting a collaboration to we the people. And that's what it is. There's no jealousy, there's no envy or anything like that. It's pure love, because we know both who we are and our strengths and what God has brought us for, and we know where we're weak and where we're not. And so I'll build you up, you build me up, and we come together and we do the work of the kingdom. And it's just like, that's what marriage is, that's what friendships is, that's what it all is. And so that's what we need to do. And so when we have these people, our leaders that we have elected to come out here and represent us, it's still a collaboration, it's still a partnership, right? You're out there, we've put you in the forefront to advocate for us, to speak on our behalf. But make no mistake, we still got the power. And that power happens at the election box, at the voting booth, for people like Jasmine Crockett. And just to mention that, we also had an election here recently, on Tuesday, there was an election, and we kept the seats. So District 1, that's the seat Matt Gaetz had. Jimmy Patronis, he took that seat, or he kept it. And the second one was District 6. That was Waltz's seat, the one that's now, I forget what his position is with the Trump administration. So, and now we have Randy Fine in that seat. So we kept them both Republican, not without a fight. The Dems in District 6 seat, the Dems put in $10 million to pull that seat. But guess what? Randy Fine had a $900,000 chess kitty. 900,000 compared to 10 million. And he still was able to win it by good majority, I think like 10-15% almost. So that tells you, people are tired, people are fed up with, they don't want Democrats in. Even with $10 million in, they couldn't pull it off. Yeah, that tells you that people are sick and tired. And I bring it to say that right here in our local area, like the races that we have happening here in 2026, I don't see why we couldn't, again, collaborate as a community, a partnership as a community, to take down these liberals that we have in our house, right? The Maxwell Frosses, to remove people like them. I mean, we just saw it. Like I said, it can be done. We can move it, but we have to come together as a people to do it, as Republicans, as conservatives. And the truth is, it all lies in the hands of the independent. That's where the sweet spot is. Those are the people that the GOP, we have to be catering to and saying, hey, we know you don't like this woke stuff. We know you don't want that. How about you partner? How about we collaborate on the conservative front for the best candidate to remove some of these liberals out of our community? I just ranted on forever. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? You're right. And I was listening to my husband. He was on a podcast and he was talking about these judge races and how there's $100 million being put into those races. 100 million? So
Wow.
there must be so much control that they want to be able to go, we need to have this seat so that we can do X, Y, and Z, push their agenda, create the culture that they want, whatever it is. But again, it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's big money. It's big money now that's making all these determinations. You know, I don't think that's right. I think that if you're a great candidate, that you should be able to tell the people, and that the people are now supporting you. Not big money's supporting you, but we the people. If we really want you, then we're going to back you. That's the way it should be. It shouldn't be money running politics. It should be the people running politics. And I'll just stop with that because that upsets me.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, and that race that happened in, I think it was Wisconsin, that judge race. And
I think that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, it was. And so we didn't win that one. The liberals kept it, and the liberal judge won. George Soros poured money in there, and Elon Musk actually took an interest. He actually went to Wisconsin and held a rally, because my understanding is that what they're looking to do, they want to redistrict. They want to redo the maps. And so with this liberal judge, so they're with them continuing, they still have the ability to do that. So they're going to redistrict the maps, and they're going to fix it in their favor and make the area even more blue. And so we didn't want that. And so, which means they will be able to, they're going to try to stop President Trump's agenda and things like that. So that's why Elon Musk took an active hand in trying to curve this thing, but it didn't work. They won it. And one thing, we talked about it yesterday on the show, was the fact that they had two things happening on their ballot. They had these judges, and they also had a voter ID on the amendment was also there. Well, guess what? That voter ID thing passed with overwhelming support, like overwhelmingly, to put, yes, we need photo ID for our elections. And so I was like, wait a minute. So that is something that conservatives want. We want voter ID. And so if so many people came out who were conservative to vote, and this is on the same ballot, how is it that, the Republican side, the conservative side judge didn't win? I'm just kind of like trying to mull that over, just to try to make sense of it. So I think they're looking at that in the numbers and how that happened. No,
we're at the make it make sense, because it's not making sense. So make it make sense for us,
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. As we land the plane, Amania.
Yeah.
So is there any other topics we want to talk about?
No, I think we're done.
No?
We're over the hour mark. I think we'll land this plane here. We had a great number of topics that we were able to bring to you today. We talked a little bit about education and what happened with President Trump's executive order to abolish the Board of Ed. We touch bases on property taxes that's coming to our great homeowners here in Florida. We touch bases on the marijuana being on the ballot and how we need to repel that. And we touch basis on the election and tariffs, Liberation Day. And so we've had a circle of great topics. And of course, we played the Madame Nancy Pelosi when she was in favor of tariffs.
Yeah.
So
how time changes things.
Yeah. yeah, time changes things. So anyway, I'm going to say thank you very much for taking the time and joining us. And so I have a great event happening tomorrow. It is going to be at the Scientology Church in Orlando, 11 to 3. If you're available, come on by. It's a great conversation, uplifting women. And we are talking about women being a wife, being present, helping other women. And so it's a great opportunity to fellowship, and I am looking forward to it. And so again, if you're there, if you're around, come on by. We would love to have you and be a part of our fellowship. So catch me, Amania Saluste, on The Conservative Poet, where I talk everything politics there. And one more thing, thank you all for supporting and checking out our merch on theorlandopatriot.com, where you can get mugs, t-shirts, everything like that, everything patriotic, because that's what we do. And I just want to say thank you for taking the time to like, share, and commenting on this podcast, on this video, because it helps to grow the channel. It helps to grow what we're doing. YouTube will send it out to the atmosphere if it gets some traction. We thank you for this, because we think that these conversations are needed, and we want everybody to be able to benefit from it. So that's my spiel. Thank you very much.
And I'm Julianna Ormond with Watchmen Action. You can find everything watchmenaction.org. And we love you and appreciate you. So we're out. Have a great day, guys. Be blessed.
Bye-bye.